Leadership, obviously at a national transformation level, we know can be quite intense, and we met in Hong Kong last year and we've stayed in touch since. And I know you're very busy. It's very demanding. In your time, not just as the leader of this institution, but think also about, serving the institution over the last number of years you've been there. How do you personally stay grounded and emotionally resilient as you carry this level of responsibility?
Leadership is a journey. I feel like it's a school. Some are born with it. Some are nurtured into it. So staying grounded, it takes a village to definitely stay grounded. And I think even for me, I would say in the roles I've held, I haven't really been, as the head of the institution. So it's relatively new. I've been, yes, leading on my own front, but in terms of leading an entity such as this, it's the first time. And so for me, I look at it as a school, as a learning school.
Always in school.
So you have to have a quick learning curve because you don't have the luxury to be able to, take your time with it. You have to be able to learn the ropes quickly. But you also have to rely on the team. And you also have to have your circle of mentors that can help you because they've walked the journey before. So you don't have to replicate the wheel. So I always look at it as the village. Who do I rely on to be able to mentor, to be able to have that conversation with if things are difficult? And so I think that helps me stay grounded. I think the second is also you keep learning and developing leadership to know what are the core values that are critical to lead a team, check-ins, team spirit, So I do at least a lot of regular check-ins with the team to understand, how are things? Because, at the end of the day, there's a lot that is happening outside of work.
Sure.
And you still need all of us to be able to work and execute. So I think having that time off to be able to check in, reconnect, have a mentor, I think it really goes a long way in helping one to stay grounded. And then the rest is, yes, there's a blueprint, so execute. No discussion. No discussion.
Follow the process, right?
No, even it's about execute on the vision. Yeah, the process just helps you to execute. But what is it that we are working towards? That also always helps you to stay grounded, to say, okay, yes, this is exactly.
Yeah, clarity on the vision. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to talk maybe specifically about the growth pockets. And feel free to speak broadly, not just about Rwanda, but on the continent. Where are we going to see the biggest growth in the coming decades? Looking at investors looking into the continent, as you say, this is a great time for Africa, and Africa is on the rise. You've talked before about the scale of investment in technology, for example, in green asset sector, in climate, fintech, and pharma tech. Where do you see the biggest bets from your perspective?
I think definitely technology in all forms, because digital transformation is happening. It's coming for all of us. It's the wave of the future. You can't escape it. You can't hide it. And there's always innovation around the corner, changing how things happen, how we work. So that's a big one. And there's a heavy investment actually going towards it. So when you look at the tech sector, and even fintech is actually the fastest growing of the tech investment.
Okay.
So I believe that will still remain pertinent. And now you see also the creative industry. I also see that as an area because you also look at our population. Africa, I think, has the youngest population segment. And the Gen Zs and the younger generation are very well connected and tapped.
We're still young, by the way, just to put it out there.
Okay. Are we still?
I think so.
Sometimes I wonder, but absolutely. Yeah. So I think creative will be a big one because the population, you're also looking at who, at the end of the day, is the customer and what are the needs, and wants of that ecosystem. And so I see there's going to be a big investment also in that area because everything is now going to be tied into social media, social engagement, connectivity, and it's largely through those industries. And I think also there's a big Pan-Africanism point as to how do we open up our borders to facilitate cross-border trade and investment intra-African. I see also most jurisdictions are now looking inward. How do we mobilize domestic resources to be able to advance our economies? How do we engage across the borders? So I believe there's going to be heavy investment also in infrastructure, as there's going to be push for more intra-African trading, cross-border trading and investment. And I think at the end of the day, the backbone of that will be financial services. Economies are going to be more connected. It will be easy for you to operate here and there because of ease of access and digitization. So I think the big investment really will be, I see technology, trade and infrastructure, and of course the creatives, just looking at the biggest chunk of our population.
That makes sense. And I think you raise a good point about, this cross-border integration. Like if you look at the after trade agreement, I believe in terms of cross-border trade in Africa, it's obviously the lowest in the world, and I think it's sub 20%. That's a huge opportunity, to your point, right? When you look at, say, for example, in Europe, it's over 63%. If you look in the Americas, I believe it's in the 50s. But the point is, Africa is sub 20, and that's the opportunity there. Is as that increases, what are the other connecting blocks that allow it to thrive?
Absolutely.
So maybe a couple final questions, and then we'll wrap up. So many countries obviously admire Rwanda's trajectory. I know I'm one of them. So maybe at some point you can adopt me as a Rwandan. But let's see how that goes.
Come invest in Rwanda.
But transformation is obviously never copy and paste, right? So from your perspective, what principles would you say? Because it doesn't make sense to just say, okay, this is working in Rwanda, let's copy and paste it. You've mentioned some things that we're a small country, so it allows us to be able to mobilize at pace. But what principles rather than policies do you believe that other African nations should take from Rwanda's experience?
I feel like it's a question for a politician. But let me leave it at what we like to call agachir, sovereignty. Know your worth, and that will help you to be able to go far. So in everything that we're all intentional about, that is the backbone. Because you don't have the luxury to also sit still and, keep at it. And so I think in everything we do, there is that and discipline. But I think it stems from that main component. And even when you look at because Rwanda is now slowly starting to export, actually, a lot of our principles in other jurisdictions. So you'll have good governance. We are exporting that to other countries as to how we've done it that can be replicated in other countries. There's the tenet of stability and security. That's also becoming a big export that Rwanda is also offering to other economies on the continent. We're also pioneering and championing a lot of these key reforms for cross-border engagement. And so I think it also stems from, yes, we are a small economy, we are a small nation, but we don't think like that. And then we have now, what resources do we have at our disposal to be able to scale and grow? And so to me, I think it all stems from that sovereignty, that pushes you to go beyond what one would think is possible. So
I love that.
I think a principle, I'm not a politician, but I would say at least looking at the history and how intentional we are.
Thank you for sharing that, Hortense. So fast forward 10 years from now, what would make you feel KIFC in its mandate has truly changed Africa's trajectory, not just Rwanda?
I think for me, success is first homegrown. What we're able to achieve in terms of our key objectives towards achieving Rwanda's Vision 2050. If you're looking at by 2050, if ultimately we are a high income economy and our contribution towards the FDI flow, towards building our financial sector, I think that will be a big success factor. Now, beyond Rwanda, I think the opportunity that we're offering African institutional capital to move easily and invest across the continent, I think that will be a big success factor to facilitate if we're doing our role, if in any way we are contributing to facilitating that cross-border investment, to facilitate more investment and more access to finance, then that will be a big win. And I see that largely through the opportunity for our capital markets. How are we facilitating, capital raising? How are we facilitating capital deployment? How are we facilitating domestic resource mobilization? I think that would be also a big win. And then ultimately, if now Rwanda positions strongly as a financial services hub on the continent, then I would say, yes, we have done. we have made it. Because, that changes really that perception risk that we were talking about. As more and more jurisdictions then become financial hubs, regional business hubs, then the perception changes, right? Because then you're attracting more players into the ecosystem who are opening up and, developing and building the ecosystem alongside you. So I think that also changes now the continental perspective as a whole. So I would say that would be the big success factors.
Perfect. Hortense, I could talk to you all day, you know that.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks for having me in your beautiful country.
Thank you.
And also this beautiful resort, the golf course. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you, and I look forward to staying in touch.
No, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much.